this morning we're talking about the two very worrisome eons: depressions and inflation. My name is Jude. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Hello Port Harcourt. Awogugu, who is a certified psychotherapist and ACES as Adverse Childhood Experiences Counselor. She's a child psychologist certified by the Public Health in the UK and the CTAA. She's a founder and lead psychotherapist at Talks with Esther Therapy, a mental health and wellness psychotherapy brand where they, change or try to change the narrative of the stigma associated with mental health. Now, when people say mental health, a lot of people go, you don't they crazy, you don't they mad. But I'm of the inclination that she's going to tell us it's actually beyond just that person they mad, that person they crazy. Esther, good morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Might I say you look very well in the is that polka dots?
Yeah, polka dots.
Okay, polka dot. All right, so I'm not so bad.
Thank you.
All right. All right. So welcome, Esther.
Thank you.
Now, you are a rare breed in the country, right? You are a psychotherapist. First things first, what is it when people say your mental health is not balanced? What does that mean? What's the mental health in person?
Okay, thank you. So first, let me start by saying that everyone has a mental health, right? Like you have physical health, spiritual health, biological. So everyone has a mental health. And when we talk of mental health, it has to do with the state of mind of an individual, mental mind. So that's simply what it means. So when we say someone's mental health is not balanced, that means a part of them is suffering. That means in their mind, their emotions, they are going through some things that are affecting them, and they are probably not talking about it, so it doesn't necessarily mean that the person is mad, like on the streets roaming around, or they are insane. It just means that an aspect of them mentally, which could be as a result of some emotional issues, is actually affected.
Okay, so now, if you remember, I don't know if you were in the country during the lockdown 2020.
Yes, please.
All right. So during that year, towards the end of that year, there were obvious spikes in suicide or attempted suicide cases in the country. We were recording, people jumping off. Like I think where it started from, where the media caught on was the very sad incident of the person who just got to the bridge, told the driver to stop the car, and the person got down from the car and just jumped.
Yeah.
From then on, it seems as though Lagosians were now on suicide watch, because when everybody will be driving on the bridge, everybody's looking out. If the car breaks down, is this person going to jump? Is this person going to jump? And there were a few attempts that were foiled, on the bridge from 2020 till date. Now, that inflation has bumped up. Everybody's complaining. And it doesn't seem too far off to have depression follow inflation.
Sure.
But we've heard of other countries who are experiencing the same thing. From the American end, I read more than 40% of Americans have admitted to depression in recent years. But you ask yourself this question: but those people, they apparently have it better than we are now. They have power 247. They have hamburgers and turkey burgers. They have good roads. They don't have a lot of policemen harassing them all over the place. Why are they depressed? How come they apparently are more depressed? I know we don't have the full stats for Nigeria as it is, but why should they be depressed when we apparently have more issues?
Okay, thank you. I think, first of all, for those climbs, out there, sometimes most of the young people are susceptible to drug use, so, and that's one of the things that would usually cause depression, because when anyone uses drugs, dopamine, the happy hormone is released, so the person wants to use more, and at the end of the day, it's just temporal satisfaction. So that's why most of the times you hear them say, oh, I'm depressed, and we feel, oh, these are little things, because they are already trained to look out for their mental health. So once there's any sign of sadness, they quickly go to look for help. Do you understand? So first of all, they already have a conditioning of their mind that anything that steals your joy, affects your peace, your satisfaction, you should not let it thrive, you know. But in our Nigerian climate, it seems like there's an award for the one who has suffered most and longest. Do you understand? So we hear people say, my mom is so sick and I'm worried. Oh, is that why you're worried? Do you know my own mom? She had cancer, she had diabetes. Your own is even small, and I was still walking up and down. I was still dancing all around, you know. So it's more like competition of who has the most sorrowful stories.
Wow. So
negative experiences before we get help. And you know, you mentioned Lagos State. I feel there should be, even if we have more psychotherapists, more people in mental health, psychiatrists and all, there should be heavy deployment in Lagos State, because the way the city is structured, the population, the energy of how people wake up at 4, wake up at 3, they are up on the road, everyone is busy, everywhere is bustling and hustling. They need to even pay more attention to their mental health, because one of the things that could affect an individual's mental health balance is lack of sleep or proper sleep. You know, and some of this, you know, bubbling and hustling activities, you're meeting with one person who is, you know, acting in a certain way, and you're almost going to get angry every day because there's someone ready to step on your toes. So the difference is that they prioritize right from the least thing that affects their peace, while we wait until it's a backload, you know, or probably we see someone stripping off their clothes and running, then we start chasing. Oh, need help, you know.
What you just described, I think, is very well known here when people, because we have a lot of mental health. Although here in this country, I'm sure you probably heard those stories. A lot of people believe it's a spiritual problem.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why they are usually, you know, on the streets in a state of undress, you know, and there are different levels of, you know, distress themselves. But mental health issues do not always lead to people stripping off their clothes.
Of course.
People who it happens in the West, who have issues like schizophrenia. Are those things prevalent here as well? Do we have
which is that no mental health will lead to sitting on the streets naked? I think before I answer the question, let me just establish there's a difference between a mental health issue and a mental health illness.
Okay.
So a mental health illness is that which requires the intervention of a psychiatrist, like the schizophrenia, you know, psychosis, where the person is out of touch with reality, probably seeing people, seeing things, or talking to a table, talking to themselves. You know, that's a mental health illness. You must need the intervention of a psychiatrist, be placed on drugs, and probably even be placed under strict monitoring, like in a psychiatric hospital.
Okay.
Then mental health concerns are cases that we can manage through therapy and drugs, like depression, anxiety, panic attacks, you know, someone who is grieving, you've lost someone. So these ones can be managed. Now, talking about the prevalence of schizophrenia and some of this bipolar disorder, we have a lot of them in Nigeria. The problem is we don't have enough diagnosis. Do you understand? People who have these issues, they do not go, you know, to a mental health facility or to a psychiatric hospital to get diagnosed. One, the stigma. Then two, sometimes we're also ignorant. You know, we see a relative who is acting in a certain way, and like you established already, the first thing that comes to our mind is spiritual. Oh, village people have come.
But
you know,
village people do come.
They do.
Don't they? Oh, don't I'm not saying. I agree with you. I'm not saying that it's all village people. But
yes.
But I think for us here in this country, where a lot of people have a problem is, okay, so how do we differentiate if this is the village people issue, or if this is actually a mental health issue that needs a doctor to diagnose and obviously try to help?
Okay, I think this is also very important, because most people would want to differentiate where it's a spiritual attack and when it's actually mental health. I think most times the spiritual attacks, from the experiences we've had or stories we've heard, it usually comes suddenly. Like you have a young person in med school, in law school, who just goes mad just like that. The person doesn't use drug, no history of drug use or alcohol use or substance use, no history at all from their childhood, no brain issue at the point of birth. They just go off that way.
What if the person saw something very traumatic? Maybe the person saw, a snake. Okay. I'm just saying.
Yes, I get you. Now, when it comes to triggers that could lead to mental breakdowns, they also come in levels. For instance, someone cannot just see something scary for the first time and just go mental.
Okay.
They will definitely respond to the shock. But it shouldn't be a case of just seeing this and then they go mad, they're on the streets. It has to be that there were repetitions. They've been seeing that traumatic, picture, or they've had that traumatic experience consistently. Now, mental health issues come as a result of consistency. Now, what do I mean by consistency? You have a relative that would always be at loggerheads with people, never at peace with people. Wherever they go, they must quarrel, they must fight, they must look for weapons, and we can trace their history from childhood to teenage age. This has happened consistently. That's a cause for alarm. It's not spiritual, because that's taking some process. Do you understand? Which, if people had discovered earlier, early intervention always helps. So that's what makes the difference. And let me give another instance. Let's say some of us have relatives that would not want to talk to anybody. They like to stay on their own.
Okay, but I'm going to ask you to hold that thought. We'll be back after this break. All right. More coming. The headline news, that's at 11:30. We'd like to get back to my guest this morning, psychotherapist Esther, this morning. And then you were talking just before we went on the break that yes, there's a difference between a mental health issue and a mental health illness. Okay, so now when after doing that, you made mention that look, there are triggers. If it's consistent, then it's a sign that something here is wrong. All right, as opposed to when there's a sudden attack and there's not been any history of any record of any such issue. Now, when that happens, right, now you are a psychotherapist, right? Not a psychiatrist, you're a psychotherapist.
Yes.
Where do you usually come into the treatment of mental health issues?
Okay, so what we do is more of intervention, like offering psychotherapy sessions whereby people who are going through anxiety, depression, they are still in their right frame of mind, but they are depressed. Probably they've gone through depression. Is more like prolonged sadness or sadness that you have no control over. Normally you can just feel sad and you just remember, I can't do anything about this, let me just let it go, and then you're up jumping around. But a depressed person has no control over that sadness, so it takes them over.
Let me stop you.
Okay,
so wait, they have no control over?
Yes, please.
That's for depression?
Yes, please.
Is that what they call clinically depressed?
Okay, at the point where it's clinical depression, you need to be placed on drugs, because sometimes, even for someone that's never experienced depression at all, we all know that we see the signs sometimes. You could discover that you notice that you're not motivated to go to work, you're not motivated to do the things you used to love doing. That's a sign that depression is knocking. Okay, you're not depressed yet, right? But probably there are circumstances making you feel that way. Probably you're not appreciated at work, or your family doesn't even appreciate the fact that you travel hours just to get to work. That can put you in that mood, right? But you also have control to say, well, I'm doing this because I love this job, I'm not listening to what anyone is saying, and then you get to work. Okay, but a person who is now clinically depressed, it's, let's call it an advanced form, and they'll be diagnosed with depression. No matter what anyone says, they would remain in that state. They may just even resign the job or just unceremoniously leave the job.
Interesting.
So at that point, they would need to be placed on medications. That's why most companies are inclusive now. So they could even have employees that suffer depression. And how do they manage them is they understand, okay, when these signs come, such employees are not loaded with so much work, because work overload could also be a trigger. Do you understand? So basically, we help with therapy when those feelings start at that stage where you're feeling, oh, I don't feel like going out, or I don't feel like talking to anyone, or I don't feel like resuming at my job. You need to speak with the therapist. Do you understand? So we intervene at that early stage when those signs are coming up. And then people who are going through panic attacks, now panic attacks could be triggered by some traumatic events a person has had. Probably they saw something that put them in shock, or they've had an experience. Imagine walking in on your partner cheating.
Ooh.
That can create a panic attack that would last, because the person didn't think of it. And imagine you've been vouching for this spouse and all that, you didn't just see it coming, and you saw, not just that you heard. That could throw someone into a panic attack. And a panic attack is judged by its consistency. So after some time, because of the memories of what this person has seen, they could have the fast heartbeats, shaky hands, sudden fever, rumbling tummy, severe headache or migraine, So these are the people we deal with. They have control to some extent of their sanity. Where the psychiatrist comes in is when these people have gone into a state of psychosis. Psychosis simply means that the persons now are out of touch with reality.
Okay.
Do you understand? So that's where the psychiatrists come in, and then you see really violent cases and schizophrenia, where they are saying things, calling things, talking,
So all those guys that we see on the roads, those are the people that actually need the psychiatrist at that point.
They do, but I think sometimes some of them, it could possibly be that they've actually been to the psychiatric hospital. They are not responding to treatment. So some may even escape, or the doctors, depending, could call on family members, let them know the reality. So it's more like, instead of spending so much and there's no recovery process, and this also most times is determined by the cause of madness at that stage, especially when it's a result of drugs.
Okay, all right. So when we come back, we get to hear more from my guests. Headline News right here, 92.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Jude on Mamigbe. We're having a conversation this morning all about mental health. The people walking on the street, according to my guest this morning, and one of them obviously is financial stress. Whenever people don't have money, as history has shown in the past, things tend to go awry, medically speaking, and also in this case we're talking about the mental health. So once again, this morning I'd like to reintroduce Esther Wogugu, who is a certified psychotherapist, all right, and also an experienced educationist with special interest in special education needs. All right, now lots of things that you do working with children and all of that. Would like to now bring this home as we open the phone lines very shortly, Esther. This morning, how can the average Nigerian, the average Port Harcourt listener, manage their depression in this difficult time? You said earlier that people can get depressed, maybe a heartbreak, or maybe they just maybe not feeling they don't feel appreciated at work, or something happened, but here right now, what Nigeria, what Ghanaians, what a lot of African countries are going through right now is inflation. All over the world is inflation, and so it's there's a general sense of either panic, anxiety, like you said. So what are some of the tips you could share before we open the phone lines for the listener?
Okay, so I think first thing to do is to come to terms with the reality, that there is inflation, financial flow and all of that may not be as it's used to for many people. Then the next thing is to have realistic budgets and plans. I don't think right now it would be wise to be in any competition of, oh, I used to have this car, or I used to eat this kind of meal. How do I step down to this kind of meal? So realistic plans, realistic budgets, forget about any competition, and then protect your space. What do I mean? Now, if probably you used to mingle with the big boys, and probably the big boys are not affected by this inflation, you may need to, watch it, because sometimes when you're with them, they may keep talking about all the plenty money coming to them, big deals, and probably that's not your reality, so that you don't get depressed or even be a victim of envy. That, oh, this is going on well for this person and I'm feeling the heat, So you need to strike a balance. And of course, if these big boys are sharing these big deals that they are hitting in the light of encouraging you that there is hope, oh, fine. But if it's in the light that it comes to you as an intimidation, then you may need to minimize such gatherings. You're going for a gathering where these people are going to spray, maybe in line with EFCC rules, they're going to spray in millions, and you probably do not have that. So why will you be there when you know that not just that they're going to spray on your behalf, they will make it obvious
that they have more than you.
That they have more than you.
But Esther, let me ask. See, in this narrative, and I think it's pretty good advice, right? But isn't it also where do we draw the line? Because if someone else has to withdraw, and like you said earlier on, that if you notice someone who's always withdrawn, who is avoiding public attention, who maybe even has maybe a bit of agoraphobia or something, if you have been around people,
yes,
you may want to say, look, let's get a psychotherapist for you. But now Jude has been doing business deals, things are not working out, they've cut the power, he has sold one of his cars, he has only one, his wife is angry with him, and that end of year or class parties is meant to be there, he goes away. Doesn't that make it worse if he still stays away?
Okay, that's why I established that you need to find out the energy in the room. If your classmates or those friends, they are sharing these successes, is not motivating you, it's rather predisposing you to feel bad that, oh, look at my friends, they're making it, and it's the whole economic downturn is more on me. Do you understand? Then you need to create boundaries. I'm not saying stay away from people, right? But like, for instance, the scenario you created about let's say school, end of school stuff, or old school association, most times some of these gatherings are for show-offs. Yes, there may be a charity activity done, but at the end of the day, if you check some of those WhatsApp groups and all, you'd see, oh, are you married now? Do you drive now? Why are you asking, do you drive? Are you not happy that I'm alive first? So at the end of the day, you see people coming, you don't know if they even hired the cars or something, and then you're feeling so bad that everyone came with a G-Wagon and you're the only one who didn't come with an SUV. So what I'm saying is, choose your circle. Of course, we need to have a mix, the wealthy, the big boys, the people who are also coming up. We need to have all of those people, but you also need to check the energy that they come with. If it's positive energy, good. But if it's an energy that is predisposing you to feeling bad that you do not have, then you need to create some boundaries. Do you understand? Because of course it's expected that your circle should help you grow. You too, you contribute. You may not have the wealth, but you may have wisdom, knowledge, or something to give. But if you discover that because of the economic downturn, all the conversations revolve around those who are doing well, and they want to also ask you, so how is it with you? Everyone knows that you're struggling. So such conversations may not be healthy for everyone. Okay, so that doesn't mean you should stay away from people, but look at the energy in the room. Are they contributing positively? Are they helping you grow? So you choose the people that have access to your space so that you can manage this downtime that everyone is going through. Just associate with people, but still be very observant about the vibes people are bringing on, so that you don't get discouraged. And sometimes we wonder, how do friends plan the death of their other friends, or assassinations or something?
Yeah,
sometimes this is envy, because this other friend is struggling, and every time the other one who is doing well is talking about the cars, the containers that have landed, not everybody has emotional intelligence to withhold such level of good news. And
so there are levels of news that you shouldn't share with everybody.
Of course, discretion is always important. We've heard of people who lost out on travel opportunities because of their friends and even family members. And all of these things are also rooted to what we call adverse childhood experiences. How does envy even start? How do we say this person is a mean person? It's traced to childhood. An adult who grew up in an environment as a child where everyone was quarreling, there was dissension, and maybe a polygamous family, there was always this quarreling. Your mom always had a neighbor that you people shouldn't play with or talk to. You're sowing a seed of envy in the life of that child. That's how people grow up, and we tag them, oh, this envious person, this wicked person. Wickedness didn't just see them on the road and fall on them. Do you get? It came from the kind of environment they were exposed to. Instead of having more love, more unity, doing things together, they always knew a list of people their parents were not in terms with. They knew all their parents' enemies. They knew all the witches they shouldn't talk to. You're sowing a seed. That's why parents that are brilliant about parenting, even when they have a beef with their brother, who is their children's uncle, they do not let the children know. The children do not need to know. Of course, if for any reason you feel this uncle can harm the children, you intelligently know how to ensure that your children and the uncle do not have to be in the same space. Now, Chuka is a bad man. He's evil.
But what if they tell the children maybe when they're in their 20s or 30s?
Okay, I feel as adults, the children also have better capacity to manage certain information. But even at that, not all information are also necessary for the child or for individuals to have. For instance, you could let the child know that, from an experience I had with Uncle Chika, I would love that you keep your distance. The child doesn't need to have all that information. Do you understand? Because it's a small world. It could be Uncle Chuka's child that would help your child in future. Your Uncle Chuka may be the bad person and not his child or his children. So, but when you sow the seed of discord, you do not know how far it goes. So even telling that 20-year-old, and maybe it's Chuka's son that would help him when he gets to the university or something, or Chuka's son who has made it to be the one to even complete the education of your children. I'm not saying it will always happen, but even in trying to let the children know the people we're at loggerheads with, we also need to be brilliant about it.
Okay, all right. So let's get to the phone lines now, and some of your messages will start coming through. Some questions.
Okay.
I have to I beg you to make your answers as direct as possible.
Okay.
So 01792300002, 01792300003, at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH is where you find us on Facebook and on X, at Nigeria Info PH, at Nigeria Info PH. WhatsApp is 08090306416.
The views and opinions shared on this program do not represent the position of Nigeria Info FM. Nigeria Info, let's talk.
Okay, all right. So Emmanuel Oku has a question. He sent this question about 10 minutes ago, interestingly. It says, good morning, Mr. Jude, and to the guests in the studio. My questions are, 1, what is the difference between positive stress and negative stress? And 2, can positive stress cure negative stress? And how? Emmanuel wants to find out.
All right, Emmanuel. So most times positive stress could be the stretch you experience as a result of something productive you're doing, right? Let's say someone who is going through school, you're reading, you have to wake up, stay up late at night, you're being stressed out, but that's for a good reason. There's a goal
Okay.
Then negative stress means that you're engaged in an activity that is unproductive and it's draining you, it's taking strength, it's taking time out of you, and of course stress is stress, whether positive or negative. So we can't really say positive stress would cure negative stress, because you need some form of energy to even carry on with whatever is bringing the positive stress. So the simple thing is, for positive stress, create time to rest, no matter how small, because there's restorative sleep. We need, sometimes we're taken up by motivational quotes. I don't sleep, the one who sleeps is lazy. But we need quality sleep, at least regulated sleep, so that we feel better. And then for the negative stress, identify your stressor. Is it your workplace? Probably is getting toxic, or you're in a relationship that you're putting in so much effort, is not just working out, or a business deal that is taking a toll on you. So discover the stressor and then try and step out of it while you create energy, rest time, so that you can carry on with the positive activity that may be bringing some stress.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Abba Kariba said, good morning, Jude and Esther. Thank you for the information and enlightenment. Please remember the word hallucinations. Yes. Yes, we need to actually touch on that very quickly, because earlier on you had mentioned that sometimes some people, when they have mental illnesses, you talk about maybe some form of psychosis where they're talking to themselves. So some people even hear voices. I once saw a show where the lady said a voice told her to stab that man.
Yes.
So quickly, how do our hallucinations work? Where's the origin from? Is it really village people?
Okay, hallucination, like we already know, means the person is imagining things that are not happening. And to be very honest, one very basic and relatable source or trigger of hallucination is lack of rest. Yes, please. So when you've not rested enough, your brain cells are stressed, and you're stressed beyond measure. So at that point, you could get a bit out of touch with reality, kind of, and start seeing things or hearing things, or you think, I kept this or I did this, and everyone is saying, no, now you've not done this. So first thing is sleep, insufficient sleep and rest. You may not even necessarily be closing your eyes to sleep, but at least having time to rest. Okay. And then another way hallucinations may occur could be as a result of grief. When someone you love so much dies, you just feel, she just walked into my room, she sat down, as I rushed to give her a hug, she disappeared, and then you're crying again. Sometimes it can happen to you because of the emotional bond and the attachment you have to that person. So that's why it appears you're seeing them, but obviously you're not seeing them. So these are some of the things that could lead to that. And then advanced form is when there is psychosis, that's an issue with the brain, and this person has gone out of touch with reality, and at that point hallucination becomes aggressive. Probably you see people, this person is chasing me, and you're running on the road, shouting and talking. People are wondering, now who is chasing this person? Then that would be a severe form of it, which could be sponsored by drug use and drug abuse. Some of these things, they take time before they actually happen, especially for hallucinations that are symptoms of schizophrenia, or extreme forms of probably bipolar, or those cases where we say, bundle this person, take them to a psychiatric hospital.
Yes, Yaba left.
Yaba left and Rumibo here. So these things take some time. So, and it's very important to state that sadly, alcohol is a gateway substance.
What does that mean?
What that means is that people who take alcohol are susceptible to do drugs. So by gateway, it means it's like the security man at the gates that can open up your system to desire to do drugs. But most people do not know this, especially when people, those who consume daily, we finish in crates, we finish 10 bottles, it looks like a competition or an award. They are opening up their system to desire to do drugs. So it shouldn't be difficult for them to start smoking, doing all manner of drugs and taking anything smokable, and these things have impacts, you know, on an individual's mental health. You know, our Proco doctor says some of these things and we just laugh in the comments and all, but they are true. And most times, because it hasn't happened immediately, we feel it won't happen, or maybe it's not real.
Okay. All right. So we have 3 minutes, and there are two very interesting questions that popped up here. All right. Okay. All right. So Soki Fubara says, please, how does someone fight negative, illogical thoughts? Some keep on repeating itself. It's uncomfortable, disturbing thoughts.
Okay. Soki, I think you need to find out the root cause of this negative, illogical thoughts. Did anything happen? There has to be a root cause. Either you lost someone, or you're having relationship issues, or there is it brings about those thoughts. Okay, but if it's a situation where nothing happened and you just on your own start having illogical, negative things that you'd help, also like you're fast tracking your aging process in a way somehow, and the aging of the brain. So that's why you see young people experiencing old people's sicknesses, you know. So for dementia in young people, it could be traced to alcohol abuse, drug use, and then very adverse childhood experiences. There are people whom if they sit down to tell you about their lives, you may hardly count any happy moments. It's been back to back, and we know dementia also comes with some form of memory loss and all that. So sometimes in a bid to fight those memories and suppress them, so these are some of the after effects. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We are about to leave the studio right now. Thank you very much for your questions this morning. I can't thank you once again for joining us, Esther.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I look forward to having you on very shortly. We'll get more specific issues and have you join us to have conversations, if you will, please.
Sure, I will.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So the afternoon crew will be coming in shortly. Okay. And there's an update. So everybody's still trying to adjust to new things here in the studio. More about that later. But for now, please do take care of yourself and don't be scared. Don't be ashamed to seek medical advice.